The First Battle of Svensksund, also known as the First Battle of Rochensalm from the Russian version of the Finnish Ruotsinsalmi, was a naval battle fought in the Gulf of Finland in the Baltic Sea, outside the present-day city of Kotka, on August 24, 1789 during the Russo-Swedish War. Order of battle. The Swedish fleet at Svensksund consisted of 1 light, shallow draft frigate, 6 Turuma, 1 Hemima, 3 Udama, and 1 Pojoma archipelago frigate, with 20 gun sloops, 4 mortar longboats, 4 cannon longboats and 5 galleys. The fleet had 5,000 men plus those aboard auxiliaries and transports. Swedish strength was dispersed defending the whole length of the coastline. The Swedish open sea fleet failed to defeat the Russian fleet at Åland and was unable to clear Russian ships from the Porkala region. The Russian coastal fleet consisted of a frigate, 8 ebex, 5 brigs, 3 bomb vessels, 18 galleys, 29 half-galleys, 12 gun sloops and 3 cutters with a total of 12,000 men plus those aboard auxiliaries. The Russian coastal fleet was supported by a squadron of 3 frigates, 7 ebex, and 2 dozen smaller ships from the open sea fleet commanded by Ivan Bal. First phase of the battle. The Swedish fleet prepared for Russian numerical superiority by creating blockades of scuttled ships in the narrow passages on the 23rd of August. Failure to blockade all the narrow passages made this operation unsuccessful. Action between main elements of the Swedish archipelago fleet and the Russian squadron led by Bal started at 10:00 on the 24th of August, and the artillery duel continued for 6 hours before the initial Russian attack from the south was beaten back, with Russians losing 3 ships captured and several others badly damaged. Second phase of the battle. The Russian coastal fleet had meanwhile approached from the east and was probing its way through the Swedish blockade under fire. Advantage shifted from the defenders to the attackers at 1600 when the right wing of the Russian coastal fleet led by Gioliolita penetrated the unblockaded narrow passage between Magasari and Tietina. The Russian attack forced Swedish ships guarding the blockade to withdraw, allowing the Russians to clear remaining blockade obstacles. Russians captured the Turuma Salanvara, which had run aground while defending the blockades, and the Hemima Odin, which had come to its aid. The Swedish archipelago fleet withdrew into the safety of fortress at Svensksund when it became clear that Russians had beaten the blockade. Several other ships were lost during the withdrawal. The Turuma Björnjarnside, which had been Ehrenvid's flagship at the start of the battle, ran aground and struck its colors after bravely fighting nearly to the last man. The frigate AF Troll, Turuma Ragvald, and a gun sloop were also captured. Swedish auxiliaries and transport vessels trapped north of island of Kotka were burned to prevent their capture. Aftermath. Total Swedish losses were 3 Turuma archipelago frigates, 1 Hemima archipelago frigate, 1 light frigate, 1 galley, 1 half-galley, 1 schooner, 9 gun sloops and 30 transport and auxiliary vessels. Roughly 1,500 Swedes were killed, wounded or captured during the battle. A field hospital was formed for another 506 Swedes unable to evacuate. Russian losses were 1 galley and 1 gun sloop blown up. Russians recaptured all ships from Ballet's squadron captured by Swedes early in the battle. 1,100 Russians were killed, wounded or captured. Russians gained a clear victory but failed to inflict decisive defeat on the Swedish archipelago fleet. A delayed attack by Nassau-Siegen allowed Swedes to defeat Ivan Ballet's squadron. Early defeat of Ballet's squadron allowed most of the Swedish fleet to reach the safety of Svensksund fortress and regroup for later battles. Navigation of the shallow yet unobstructed narrow between Tietina and Koiromsari by Giuliolita's small galley force was the crucial factor in Russian success at Svensksund. Several factors contributed to the Swedish defeat. A successful Russian blockade at Porkala prevented 2 archipelago frigates, roughly 20 galleys, and several gun sloops and yawls from reaching Svensksund in August 1789. Ehrensvard's preparations for defense were hampered by King Gustav III's opposition to his plan. Ehrensvard's decision not to blockade the narrow between Tietina and Koiromsari due to his belief that it was too shallow to navigate was a crucial error, and delayed construction of obstacles in the straits opening towards Frederikshamn made it possible for the Russians to clear them quickly. Inadequate sounding of the Swedes' selected battleground caused several Swedish ships to run aground during the battle. The Swedes might have been victorious at Svensksund in 1789 had the king allowed Ehrensvard to withdraw to Sveatham after defeating Ballet's squadron, as Ehrensvard had planned. King Gustav III was aware his fleet was running low on ammunition when he gave the order to fight against the main force of the Russian coastal fleet. Bibliography: Matilla, Tarpani, Meri Amatervana, Sea Protecting Our Country. Jyväskylä, KJ. Gumarasosaki Show. ISBN 951-99487-0-8.